Hello and welcome to Note to File, a clinical research podcast.
A collection of interviews, candid commentary, and general nonsense for the clinical research community.
Check us out at notetofilepodcast.com.
And now, without further ado, on to the show.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another Note to File. Denali. How's your Tuesday?
It's all right, actually. Of course, I can't unmute. No, it's been a decent Tuesday. I have a new roof on my house, which was yesterday and not today, which is probably good for everyone involved, given the amount of banging that was happening yesterday. How's your Tuesday?
It's okay. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, nobody told me that running sites was going to be such a pain in the ass.
You live, you learn.
Something like that. I know I've talked about this before, but I'm so surprised by how it's challenging it is to get vendors or outside parties to work with you if you need imaging or colonoscopies and things like that. If you're independent, you're not part of the system. I'm just shocked by how people don't want me. They don't want to take my money. I
mean, what's the pushback?
I mean, some of it is, well, a few things, I guess. And usually it comes when they start to get legal involved. And, some of these places have their own local IRBs, which gets to be, another wrinkle to throw in there. They
How much does that have to be involved, though? I mean, they're not, they're just delivering the service. They're not running the research.
I know,
right?
But it's happening on their, grounds. So they want their IRB to take a look at it. They want their legal to take a look at it and determine whatever liability or risk there may be, even though these are already huge multi-site trials that, are being done all over the country. And then honestly, a lot of these places too, they don't have a ton of, maybe their people don't have time to help them, even though we're not asking a lot from them. They're understaffed. They've got enough stuff going on. It's hard to you got to get credentialed then through their official processes to get involved and step foot, inside their places. And if you're doing that from the outside, it becomes very challenging. Who are you? What are you doing? Why do you want to come into our facility and, do whatever?
Is it a barrier, folks not understanding clinical research and what it all is? Or is it more they hear it and they just defer to all these regulatory compliance legal groups and that's where it gets slowed down?
I mean, I guess it's both, because we've had it both ways, places that don't have or do research and they're kind of what is this? And sometimes, again, if we need imaging, we're well, we need to train one of your techs. And they're well, no, they're busy or whatever. But then, this last place, they have their own research. They have their own research group. But, declined basically to let us perform colonoscopies on their premises for whatever reason after legal review, which I'm okay, I don't understand.
I mean, essentially they're delivering a service.
Yeah, we want to hire them to help with the service.
So it's not it's a, hey, volunteer your time and stuff. It's hey, we're going to pay you for services rendered. Doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess on the facility thing, I mean, when I worked at Epic and implemented, that was a big thing where we'd go on site to implement. And so everyone on the implementation team, because you're going to be in patient care areas, has to go through different background checks and all of the things that come with that, different vaccination requirements, whatever. So there's the facilities part of being on healthcare, which I understand. There's a barrier there. I could see that, but
it's also why, again, I'm so skeptical of too much decentralization as things go on, because if you're going to pull in a bunch of local labs maybe, and again, different imaging vendors, it just gets increasingly complicated if you don't sort of own or have an otherwise in with these places already. It's just frustration. It's fine. Figure it out. But I think these are the things we don't again, if I can't get access to a colonoscopy suite, I can't do IBD studies. So, they don't really talk about that kind of stuff, you know.
What's going to restrict what sites are even available to run, which again, DCT, I think a lot of this is also dependent though on type of trial.
True.
Like some
100%.
of it is like,
some could easily be done without
correct.
including that those types of, facilities, and it's obviously easier when you do. But I think, I don't know, this is something I heard recently. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it seems like maybe big site networks are eating up more of like the easy trials that are out there, because pretty much anybody can do them. So it's a lot easier to go sign one contract and get whatever 40 sites onboarded. And like maybe sites more like ours are stuck, I say stuck, but like end up with some of the more specialized trials that the bigger networks don't do as well, which kind of means your smaller independent sites are always going to have kind of the harder to do studies.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. If I'm a CRO or a sponsor, if I can go to one site network and be like, hey, I'm going to award you and you're going to activate 40 sites, well, that's a hell of a lot easier for me than going to 40 different sites individually.
Yep. If you want to do a GLP-1 trial, any site can enroll that. So you're going to do it the simplest way possible. If it's something that requires a lot more specialized facilities or procedures or assessments, then you're going to have to maybe pick off sites more one by one. So it's just interesting to see how that plays out over the next several years, because fun stuff.
I mean, it's interesting though, because like I was having this challenge last week regarding like working a different side of things, but like working with like legal and procurement groups for organizations. So obviously you're working with the research operations teams who are looking and they want to get a new software suite, but then you're working with like the procurement group or their legal team to review the contract or like review RFP responses. And they have zero idea what research is or why it's valuable. And it's like the research operations people are going through their processes that they have to do. They're like the site operations are like, this is what I want, this is what I need. And then you get hung up because they've punted you to go through their processes. Their people don't know and aren't educated. And so you're now in this weird situation where you're like trying to explain why clinical research is valuable and why you would need a electronic site investigator site file. And they're like, well, what's the point of this? And you're like, well, how do I explain an EISF when you don't know what clinical research is? And so it's end up in this like, oh God, how do we do this? So like I've been working through like, what's the best way to like educate folks who don't know and don't care what research is.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked if you're dealing with that, as you're dealing with these, like, hey, I need a colonoscopy suite. And they're like, what's research?
Yeah. And again, it's a mix. It's again surprising to me, even the places that ostensibly understand it, but still act like they don't, or again, make everything. It's no different than dealing with sponsors and CROs. Like everyone wants to make it like really overcomplicated when it doesn't need to be. But such is life. Forgot to talk about what kind of great days it is today.
What day is
July
it today?
7th. It's
the day before my dad's birthday.
Oh well, happy birthday to your dad. I'm sure he watches every episode, so he'll see this
diligently, I'm sure.
Today is National Strawberry Sundae Day for some reason.
Okay.
It's World Chocolate Day.
Okay.
It's National Rock and Roll Day.
Okay.
Oh wait, National Day of Rock and Roll. Sorry.
Oh, is that different than National Rock and Roll Day?
Different somehow. I can get behind that. That's a good day. It's a lot of days. It's National Dora Day.
Like Dora the Explorer?
Yeah, apparently so.
These days are just getting
National Macaroni Day, National Koi Day.
So I recently almost bought a goldfish.
Yeah.
So moved, obviously. My very good friend did a housewarming, visited me, and brought me some pet snails as a housewarming gift.
Which is totally normal thing to have.
It's escalated quite quickly. So now we went and got my kids wanted bigger snails, went to the pet store, got bigger snails. That's why they were looking at the goldfish. And I was like, I travel too much. We were not getting fish, but sure, a few more snails. And now they're all laying eggs. So this is escalating very quickly.
You're a snail breeder now.
It's a snail farm. So if anyone wants some snails, let me know. What do we got?
Got a comment from Zach here, and wondering if compliance teams worried about getting double paid by sponsor and Medicare. Steep penalty. Well, that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole nother can of snails altogether. Steep penalties from False Claims Act. To Denali's point, they're likely not research-specific billing workflows in place. Yeah, I mean, that's probably true. I mean, look, even where there are research-specific billing workflows in place, this gets done wrong all the time. I can tell you from even when I worked at the university, where, again, presumably they've been doing this for decades and they have a lot of things in place to keep that from happening. We would get calls all the time from angry patients who were billed incorrectly, get sent to collections. We'd have to jump through a bunch of hoops. And yeah, it's even more complex with places that we don't have any, control like over that process.
I mean, I find MCA fascinating because I feel like it's one of two ways where you talk to organizations and they have these really complex processes for charge routing and adjudication. They have millions of dollars that is just never invoiced for because of fear of getting the claims
on the wrist,
right, and getting I mean, there's lots of cases, right? Like Moffitt just went through that a couple of years ago where you get like dinged and fined millions, right? Because you committed Medicare fraud, basically.
Yeah. More or less.
And so like there's millions of dollars that organizations are just like scared to bill, so they just don't. Or you go into these organizations and you're like, how do you do coverage analysis? And they're like, yeah, we just kind of let the provider pick. And it's like, that's terrifying. Like you realize there's like local and national determinants of coverage. Like you're supposed to be like doing the thing. So I just find that absolutely wild to me. Like the range, and sometimes it's the same organization where like the billing office has all of these things and then some PIs going rogue on it. It's wild to me how that works.
Well, surely all this deregulation is going to make everything easier and better for sites. Well, let's talk a couple articles. You found some articles. I'm lazy, and you found some articles. So let's talk about it.
Well, there's a couple of things that came out. I think I saw this come through the LinkedIn feed from Dell posted about this. I was just looking at like how there's more potentially push to operationalize some older legislation, basically, which would force additional diversity in clinical trials, specifically looking at like African populations. And I think this one I found interesting, especially given the partisan element of it, because generally you see DE&I, especially with this administration, has not been a popular thing.
So it's like went out of their way to like take those words out of documents, right? So this seems like a weird.
It's a weird pivot,
right?
Yeah. And the article itself was fairly minimal, I would say, as far as like what they pointed to as to why. Pointed to economics, basically, to say like it's now becoming recognized that if you don't have test drugs in diverse populations, those drugs potentially don't work for those populations and cause adverse effects or increased economic impact because they have to receive more care, whatever, like more burden on the health system. So it pointed more so to like the financial outcomes of negative health effects on having drugs in populations that don't work, and like what the impact is going to be for like global impact here. But I thought it was interesting. It wasn't the strongest point though, as to understand like why actually this was being pushed.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I mean, color me skeptical, but it seems an odd shift in rhetoric towards, again, what we saw for the last couple of years now.
I mean the word woman was taken out of grants.
Yeah, I mean, super
like what
super weird stuff. And now it's a concern. I mean, again, it should be a concern, but I'm surprised that I guess someone is still mandating that this be the case just because they took the words out of it. And I don't know. I'm curious to see. I wonder if there's more to the story. I tried to find some other sources of this article, but a lot of them were paywalled and kind of hard to get to. But I would be curious for some more like editorial comments on like why this is the case, because it seems strange, right? I mean, if the administration is in charge of what gets approved or not, then I mean, I just have a hard time thinking that they're like, well, actually, we care a lot about the science now.
Well, yeah, exactly. Saying the science, we need better diverse populations to make sure it's more scientifically valid and leads to better health outcomes for the general population. Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting, like, I would love to know what else is in this bill. I think that's maybe my question.
I'm definitely feel like there's something else going on here, possibly. What is the last sentence here? While pharmaceutical lobbies historically resisted prescriptive trial mandates, citing increased cost and delayed timelines, the regulatory tide has permanently shifted. I mean, that seems like a strong statement.
Yes, it really does.
The GOP's strategic alignment on this issue guarantees the FDA will wield its authority to ensure that the medicines of the future are scientifically validated for the entirety of the population they are intended to treat, fundamentally rewriting the global rules of drug development. Hey, I love the sentiment.
And I hope they can make it happen.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know. It's just very hypocritical considering all of the other shit that happened in the past year regarding diversity in clinical trials. But
yeah, I also think it's interesting too how it's saying, let me find here. This article is not even that long and I can't find it. The financial consequences of noncompliance are severe. You know, if the FDA enforces this, they could face delayed approval or be required to conduct costly post-market validation studies. The risk is forcing venture capital and biotech firms to front-load diversity strategies during the earliest stages of asset development, including decentralized trials, which, you know, I've yet to see. I mean, have we seen a lot of data? Companies must now heavily invest in decentralized trial networks, deploying mobile clinics, telehealth monitoring, and community-based partnerships to recruit effectively. You think that's true? I mean, do you think... And it makes them mention that traditional trial sites are often clustered in elite urban academic medical centers, inherently limit accessibility for rural and minority populations. First of all, are rural populations really like part of the issue? I think. I mean, I do agree that like rural populations should have better access, but if your rural population is still mostly white, then does that really...
I think it probably depends on like what area of the country you're in.
That's
right?
Probably
like
true,
I imagine like in different...
But doesn't there tend to be, I mean, am I wrong that generally there's a higher diversity of demographics in larger cities versus, and more urban areas, which would make you think that, you know, those sites are actually as well or better positioned than anyone else to potentially have better diversity.
But I think it's a matter of like where folks are getting care, right? Like I think there is people like there's you want to go to your providers that you trust. And so people a lot of times go to their community providers. They're not going to go to the major renowned, you know, specialists who are running these trials at academics. I think the people who are treating or who are seeking out like specialized, renowned healthcare for very like specific things are probably not the folks who are seeing their community doctor. And I think that's where like you see where like rural populations and economics come into it a little bit more potentially.
I wonder. I need to do some of my own.
But I don't know. I mean, I think there is an element of getting more diverse trial sites, right?
I don't disagree with that. I just think it's an interesting statement. And again, this is just from me literally Googling this right now. I asked, do academic medical centers see a less diverse patient population? And of course, this is AI overview. Take it for what it take it for what it is, but it says no, academic medical centers do not generally see a less diverse patient population. In fact, urban AMCs frequently serve as major regional safety nets, caring for a
Yeah.
disproportionately high percentage of underserved minority and low income populations compared to community hospitals. So
Okay.
that's where I think, again, like it's interesting to me that, well, I mean, under other reasons, right? Not just like location. It's not,
Right.
you know,
Well,
just
and I think,
curious about.
I mean, I think when we talked to when Dell came on, I think he talked a lot about like where Acclinate came from and like their work and like getting communities trust in clinical trials and that type of thing. So, like to your point, is it location or is it something else?
Yeah.
That is going to impact it.
Shout out Dan. I can't click the link because it's in a weird StreamYard comment. I'll have to go look on LinkedIn, but he provided another source for
cool
that article, which we wouldn't check out. I wouldn't mind digging more into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Thanks, Dan. Anyways, interesting. Again, not a bad thing. It's just seems like an odd turn. Curious. Oh, curious. All right. Talk about our favorite thing to talk about, which is, why isn't it flipping over? Which is AI.
I thought this one was actually like, this to me seems like actually a very good use case for AI. So this came out today. The results were published, but basically it's this concept of an artificial intelligence system that operates like a research team. And so it's like taking a collection of, it took like a collection of like 5 different agents that focus on specific things like there's an informaticist, a clinician, a supervisor, a trialist, and they all have like a specialized focus. And then they write clinical, like for clinical trials design. So it's taking different perspectives using LLMs and pushing them through and saying, how do we come up with a better trial design for eligibility criteria and statistical analysis and patient populations? And I mean, it touches on human in the loop too, which is obviously like critical things you need for AI as a purpose-built system and a human in the loop right now based on where we're at in that journey. But I was like, that to me seems like that could be a really cool system. And it's coming out of Weill Cornell, I think is where this they like designed it. But like this could make, I don't know, it could make trial design faster, but also better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm with you. If we're gonna throw it in somewhere, this is a good place for it, because it looks like it, I mean, could actually design better protocols, which we need that, right? I mean, I think the bottleneck in clinical trials is not in the protocol writing process, but it's in the
result
executability of these protocols. So anything that could make protocols easier to execute and still be scientifically sound would be amazing. I still think at the end of the day, something that occurs to me again and again is we see all of this stuff, all of these, innovative ideas, new, solutions, new companies, whatever. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to our sponsors going to adopt them because they are the ones who run the studies. And I don't know. I mean, it's been a little while since I've sat in front of a sponsor and talked, about some of these things. But at the time, there just didn't seem to be a lot of, hunger to risk things as they are. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think these are all great things, but at the end of the day, anyone can come up with any good ideas, but if sponsors won't utilize them or actually incorporate them in any way, then what are we doing? I'd love to have more sponsors. We should try to get some sponsors on here to like talk about that. I'd be curious.
But I think, I mean, this to me seems, because all it is giving you a starting point. Do you know, like, there is no, to me, this is fairly low risk. You're asking it to draft you. Like, and you could roll this out with a ton of safety net around it, where you have it design a protocol that works and works well. And you have it reviewed by your statisticians, by your clinicians. Like you still can do all the things you would normally do, but instead of copying and pasting an old protocol as a starting point,
right.
You're now having a different starting point. So it's not like you're rolling out a solution for like statistical analysis that you're kind of like, well, I guess I hope it works. It's risky. It's like this is literally just potentially giving you a better starting point that could make it overall, like not even like the protocol design, which they say is like a complex process where you have all these different inputs being put in and which takes time and effort and is hard. Like I think, yeah, sure, maybe AI could make that more efficient. But the benefit of something like this is that it would then make everything more efficient down the stream, and you could execute it faster, get drugs to market faster. Like you could know if your protocol is going to fail, right? Like,
well, this fits in, and I assume we're going to see a bunch of companies pop up that support the tenants in Operation Trailblazer or whatever, which this kind of fits into. Because I mean, if you're smart, probably that's not a bad idea. If the government's going to mandate it, you might as well start building something that fits it. But I mean, we have decades of data in clinical trials, right? Like, why are we not better utilizing it to write better protocols? I mean, I feel like every protocol I've done for the last 10 years is more or less the same. All starts from the same point. So why? We're drowning in data, but we're not doing anything. Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem like we're doing anything particularly valuable with it. I mean, again, maybe that's just what I see from the site side, but.
Well, I think to your point, like change is hard. I think people, like you said, it's hard to like adopt something and wholly change your process. And maybe that's why, but like, again, I think I don't know. I think so many of the problems we experience stem from poor protocol design. And so many people are making Band-Aid solutions. Like I'll pick on patient recruitment, right? The challenge with patient recruitment isn't patient recruitment. It's the fact that we're designing protocols for people who don't exist. So if we take that upstream to, hey, now we're going to better look at eligibility criteria and design truly better protocols, because that would help solve the patient recruitment problem. Like not all of
that's
it.
No, I think you're right. And that's what I hate about when I read these. Again, they're not wrong, but like I read the articles or surveys about like why patients don't participate in clinical trials, and it's I have to drive or I have to take off, and they're not wrong. But here's the thing: like I can tell you, in the last week, run advertising in Oklahoma City at a very small dollar amount, but still have had 250 people raise their hands and say, "I want to be in a clinical trial," and
right.
225 of them simply don't meet any of the criteria.
Yeah.
And then, so to me, like you're leaving out the biggest reason why people aren't participating. It's not that people don't want to. People do want to.
And I also think too that like it's not even just the eligibility criteria that can be updated with this. It's like you're doing it and you're saying, hey, this is poor design. Burden to participation is too high on patients. They're not going to consent. Sure. Like there's so many things that you could make, and that's just recruitment. I can only imagine and I'm much less familiar with some of the other stuff like logistics and shipping and all of those things that you have to deal with. But like you could
those
also
aren't so big,
but like there's challenges with different shit.
At the end of the day, if you were conducting a science experiment, they're going to have to come to the office. They're going to have their blood drawn. They're going to have to, all that stuff needs to be done, I think, in a fairly controlled fashion. And there's only so much burden you can take out. I mean, I think it should be as, little of a burden as possible, but it's going to be by its nature,
yeah, but I mean, degree. you could look at things and make it as efficient where it could be. But I think that's why this is an interesting model, because it does look across the board. I think it's interesting to see like if they expanded this with like some additional things. But like there's still this statistician, who was agent that's like looking at it from a numbers perspective and how this works and how like the analytics work. And so there's the clinician for how this like works from a medical. So I think there was interesting perspectives there that I think having all of that, you would balance it, you would assume. It's not just for most patients. You're going to have the different inputs that are driving it, and then you can have it reviewed. I don't know. To me, I found it particularly interesting. And I think, again, I think that's poor protocol design is the biggest challenge in clinical trials, where so much stems from it. that I think like that's where I think AI makes the most sense.
Well, we'll see. Sounds like they made a whole.
They posted it. It launched today. They published their results.
The findings are available in Nature, so you can find them. I didn't have it. I mean, it's a long article. I didn't have a chance to actually read through it, but I'd be curious to go a little bit deeper into some of it because it does seem. I mean, to me, it seems like a pretty easy, low hanging
and low risk
case,
right?
for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to. Or are they going to make clinical trials worse? I doubt it.
Well, I'm like, what are they going to do? It's not like this AI agent's going to release a protocol and be like, okay, this is what we're doing. It's live.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of steps.
Of course, you're going to have other layers involved, right? Like, so
100%. All right. Anything else to say on that?
No.
We got Maria Ladd.
Yep.
Will be on the show Thursday.
Yeah. Yep. We have a rash of guests, I think, in the next couple of weeks. We have folks on.
We do. We got Maria Ladd from, I'm going to say it wrong, Clinical Research Site Collective. I probably said it wrong. I screwed it up.
We'll practice for Thursday.
Got Anthony Corso from Viva. We've got Dr. Daniel Fox from Clinical Research Payment Network. We got a nice July full of guests.
It's going to be busy.
Rock and roll. All right. We'll be back Thursday with Maria.
Same time, same place.
Thanks for listening to Note to File. We're committed to continuing to bring you independent and unfiltered coverage of the clinical trial industry.
We want to talk about what you want to hear. So if you have something on your mind, hit us up at notetofilepodcast.com.